Last night, Donald Trump delivered what may have been his worst speech yet. In a nationally televised address, viewers across the political spectrum were left with the exact same reaction. What was the point of that? Trump went on television only to shout aimlessly, flash meaningless charts and graphs, lie repeatedly, and unravel in real time. It was chaotic, incoherent, and exhausting to watch. But moments after the cameras stopped rolling, while the microphones were still live, Trump revealed why he gave that disastrous speech in the first place. And what he admitted exposed just how little control he has over himself, his presidency, and the rapidly deteriorating situation around him. We're going to break all of it down. But before we do, please take a moment to like this video, and if you enjoy the channel, hit that subscribe button. It really helps support our work. Before we get into what Trump revealed about this train wreck of a speech, I want to start with Lawrence O'Donnell's reaction, because he perfectly captured what we were really witnessing, a president furious at the truth.
Well, at the end of a day that began with David Remnick asking the question in The New Yorker, have you ever in your life encountered a character as wretched as Donald Trump? Donald Trump delivered that character to millions of Americans tonight in a 15-minute shouted speech from the White House. Donald Trump's shouting seems to indicate he has not yet learned how microphones actually work. America's worst public speaker struggled mightily reading a teleprompter full of lies tonight. His speech, if we can call it that, in it, Donald Trump said that when he took office, quote, inflation was the worst in the history of our country. That is a lie, a typical Trump lie. Inflation was at 3% when Donald Trump took office. Inflation is at 3% right now. Donald Trump said that when he took office, we had, quote, transgender for everybody. That would mean that Donald Trump is transgender. That would mean that everybody is transgender. It is, of course, Trumpian madness. We did not have transgender for everybody. Donald Trump said, I was elected in a landslide. That is a lie. Donald Trump won by 1.5% of the vote. Donald Trump said they released violent felons, meaning the Biden administration. No president in history has released more violent felons in one day than Donald Trump did on his inauguration day when he pardoned every violent felon who attacked the Capitol on January 6th for him, to try to overturn a presidential election for him. Donald Trump said that tariffs is, quote, my favorite word. Donald Trump lied when he said we made a lot more money because of tariffs. We didn't make any money because of tariffs. America made no money because of that. The Trump tariffs paid to the United States Treasury have all been paid in the United States by Americans. The federal government has simply taken money away from Americans through the Trump tariffs. Americans have had to take money out of their pockets to pay for the Trump tariffs in this country. This is the first time that Donald Trump made a public reference to tariffs without telling the lie that foreign countries pay his tariffs. And Donald Trump lied about the Democrats, saying Democrats are demanding increases in health insurance costs. Donald Trump delivered his speech in a monotone anger. He seemed to be angry at the truth.
The truth is, as Lawrence O'Donnell clearly states, Donald Trump is already a failed president who has already lost his failed presidency. It has slipped out of his hands. Donald Trump acts as the entirety of the Republican Party. If there is anything going on within MAGA, the blame can be laid at the feet of Donald Trump. He is the no accountability president. But if we're being honest, he's accountable to all of this. So when discharge after discharge petition is able to get 218 signatures in the House, you can't blame Mike Johnson for losing control of the Republican caucus. That's on Donald Trump. Whether it be the Epstein Files vote or the ACA subsidies, Donald Trump and Mike Johnson have lost control of the House. Historic unpopularity, that is Donald Trump. Anger about rising prices, that is Donald Trump. There is nothing that he can do. There is nothing that he can scream at us with. There are no amount of fake graphs and charts and figures and Carolyn Levitt lip injection-filled lies. And yes, I'm going to make fun of her appearance because she's a fascist and a piece of, so I'm sorry to anyone who says, maybe we shouldn't do that. I disagree. She signed up for this job. But there's nothing that anyone in this administration can do to spin the fact that Donald Trump's presidency has already ended because MAGA has turned on him and it's only getting worse. And last night's speech wasn't going to save it because even Donald Trump believed that and he admitted it when the cameras turned off. Trump spills real reason for manic address when cameras stopped. Donald Trump was heard explaining why he gave his bizarre national address as soon as the cameras stopped rolling. In seemingly unguarded comments made in front of journalists after the address, the president admitted that it had not even been his choice, but that of his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, who had made him do it as she plays cleanup amid the fallout from her embarrassingly candid Vanity Fair article. And Wednesday night's 18-minute double-speed diatribe, the 79-year-old president fired off mistruth after mistruth about how well the administration is doing and attacked his predecessor Joe Biden without having anything new to say. The White House address was carried live by the major networks, with CBS forced to interrupt the live finale of its reality TV show, Hit Survivor, so viewers could catch the presidential speech. Trump announced the rare national address on Truth Social on Tuesday evening, just hours after Vanity Fair published its profile of WS. His prompt, the Post-P prompted speculation of a major public announcement, perhaps even a declaration of war on Venezuela. This wasn't Donald Trump's doing, which became obvious to me last night while watching the speech. I walked away asking one simple question: why are we even here? Normally, Trump at least throws in something familiar: Hannibal Lecter, windmills, some incoherent rant. This time, there wasn't even that. He was just angry, speaking unusually fast, and clearly irritated. At first, I wondered if something else was going on, but it quickly became obvious that this was pure resentment, directed at Susie Wiles. And that's what people need to understand. This White House is completely fractured. The chaos is so severe that Susie Wiles can publicly trash virtually everyone in that building, mock Stephen Miller, admit J.D. Vance is an opportunist, make Caroline Leavitt look foolish, and even describe Donald Trump as having an alcoholic's personality despite not drinking. And still, on the very same day, demand total loyalty. She gets everyone to fall in line, call the reporting fake news, attack the journalist, and even force the President of the United States onto national television when he clearly doesn't want to be there. If you think Donald Trump is in control of his White House, he isn't. He's lost control entirely. He's focused on his ballroom, focused on the grift, focused on resting, because he doesn't work and never has. But he is not governing his own administration. Chaos is rampant. These people can't just not govern the country, they can't even govern themselves. That contrast matters. When people talked about Nancy Pelosi, regardless of party, they acknowledged the same thing. She always had her numbers. She never went into a vote unprepared. She talked to her members constantly. She knew exactly where her caucus stood. Compare that to Mike Johnson, who appears to know nothing beyond saying yes, sir, to leadership, and Donald Trump. He doesn't even care. It's been admitted that he didn't read the Vanity Fair article about Susie Wiles, didn't read the follow-up reporting, didn't bother to understand any of it. Susie Wiles herself admitted that one of Trump's most disturbing early actions, eliminating USAID, happened because Trump didn't even know what the agency did. He had no idea. Trump has allowed his goons to run roughshod over the government by design. Project 2025 was built on the understanding that Trump doesn't understand anything and doesn't need to. What's changed is that being good enough for Trump is no longer enough for the Republican Party. For years, loyalty to Trump alone was sufficient. Praise the leader and you were protected. That era is over. Not because everyone has suddenly turned on Trump, though many have, but because they see a future without him. They know this moment has passed. House retirements, looming midterms, internal resignations. Republicans know what's coming. They know accountability is approaching. They know leadership could change before this Congress even ends, and the institutions that built Trump, like the Heritage Foundation, are now collapsing under that realization. They're fracturing because they're being forced to confront real choices Trump can't paper over with a shrug and a thumbs up. When Trump no longer commands unquestioned authority, everything starts to fall apart. People turn on each other. Resignations pile up, power struggles erupt. That's the current state of play. Last night made it clear. Trump didn't want to give that speech. That was the point. It wasn't about persuasion or leadership. It was Susie Wiles asserting control, showing she still runs Washington while Trump, with visibly diminishing stamina, dances on command. That is the reality of his presidency now. He has collapsed. This era is over. MAGA sees the future, and it's filled with infighting. And that, frankly, is a reason to smile. We're going to keep covering it every single day. If you want to support that, hit subscribe, leave a like, and if you made it to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.